Alright, this is looking better. Drop a message in there if anybody's watching, so I can make sure it's working. Welcome back. Alright, heck yeah. Cool. Okay, back in business. So, yeah, like I was saying, let's just see what we can do with what we got here. So let's see, I've got this very basic animation blueprint, and it's largely copied from the third-person template, which I find is a really nice, simple, well laid out, just basic way to animate a character. Not sure why this is taking so long to load. Fingers crossed. But yeah, the idea is, so here's what I'm thinking. Basically, for the weapons, I'm going to add them as basically layered blend per bones. So like an additive animation for holding a weapon out, so we can have one-handed or two-handed weapons, but they can share the leg animations from the base. So that just saves us from having to make tons and tons of variant animations. So let's see. And I've got to kind of reach back into my memory here, but yeah, I think it should be fairly simple. So we need to start out by finding ourselves some decent pistol animations. Cool. Oh, this is interesting. So this is some fancy stuff. Yeah, look at that. They got a multi-dimensional blend space here. This is probably overkill for our purposes. Make them dance. Da, 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 da. Sorry. Yeah, I don't need all that. Just one pose should be adequate. Overkill, the best kind of kill. That's good. That could be like a game, like marketing slogan or something. So yeah, here's a blend space for rifle aiming. Nice, nice. We do have our shotgun guard, or we have our shotgun, so we will want to have shotgun guards, so maybe I will actually use this. But, okay, so here's the idea. So each one of these dots is a sample of an animation, and this one is ASAO Rifle CC. So here it is, and yeah, see, it's just this single static pose. That's actually perfect. Yeah, all we really need is a single pose for this. So, okay, now that we know we have that, I wonder if I should fix this with the feet. There's like something with the way the default retargeter got set up where the feet are just kind of like always off. Well, nah, that'd be... We'll replace all these animations eventually anyway. This is just for prototyping. And this one especially, we're only using from the waist up, so that'd be a pointless diversion right now. Alright, so export our animations. Let's make a folder and call this aim. Oh, cool! It's got an idle too, so that's perfect. Alrighty, now I want one for the pistol. Looks pretty good. Well, that's right, yeah. His feet are pointed in different directions, so his opposition can't know his next move. Unpredictable. Got a little problem. His arm is kind of off. Wonder if I can just kind of... Make sure that actually stayed. Yeah, I was afraid of that. This isn't really necessary. If I can't get this to stick, then I won't worry. Additive. There's some way to do this, though. Let me look this up real quick. I think it's simple. It has something to do with this additive layer tracks. I'm quite sure. Oh wait. Oh, I think I know. Key. Yeah, that was simpler than I thought. Okay. Easy little fix. Now we've got a decent little pistol aim. Alrighty, save that. So yeah, for anyone else trying to do this, if you've got a animation like this that's like almost fine, but you just want to tweak it a tiny little bit, you can just adjust the bone to where you want it and then just hit key and it will add this additive layer tracks. And you could actually animate it, you know, adding more keys to change it up. So that's quite handy when you're not doing like a full, you know, from scratch animation. Alright. Now there's some way to do like a variable animation here, which is probably what we'll want eventually. But for now we can just try this. Make sure that loops. We can add logic to drive this later, but for now we'll just, you know, just trying to get the basics working. So, what do I need next? Right, I need to go to my skeleton, yeah, and I need the name of the joint that I want to start this blend from. So here, we add our branch filter and give it the bone name, spine 01, and look at that. There we go, we can see he's already doing that. Nice. Okay, so... there's so many ways we could set this up. We need him to be able to switch weapons, right? We need to be able to have different guys, because I want to use the same animation blueprint for all my variations on this guy. Well, let's see, so we can get our rifle. And then if we swap these out, there we go, now he's doing that. Alright, not too bad. Well, and if we go in and run our game, there we go. And if we switch to this one, now they're running with pistols. Okay, so So the question now is, how do I want to handle driving that? And is just a single idle pose going to be enough? Or do I want them to have like a different running animation and aiming? And basically, do they need to have like a whole tree? Or is just this going to be enough? It's probably enough for now. Alright, so let's do this, because I want to start being able to parameterize these things. So let's go ahead. So, okay, we've got our... Yeah, we're already putting data on here. Eventually this stuff should probably be moved into a data asset. But for now, it's probably fine to keep here. So, let's see. I think I can define an animation here. This is a little different from how I do it in McSpace BIF, but this might make more sense since in McSpace BIF the player is also a character, but you know, that's not the case here. Find if it has to be a montage. That doesn't make sense. Right, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a variable to hold these clips. Oh, maybe it's called sequence player. No. I might have to look up might have to look at my other project to remind myself how I did this. Oh, wait a minute. Animation sequence asset. See, the problem is there's so many different kinds of things in Unreal that all sound very similar. Here we go. Anim sequence base. That's why I couldn't find it. Aha. Oh, I'm so happy now. Okay. There we go. And now, oh, look at that. So now with this, we want to be... Compile that. Okay, so let me explain how I just figured this out. Because this is probably going to be helpful to a lot of you out there that are, kind of wrestling with Blueprint. So what I'm trying to do, let me explain, I guess, what I'm trying to do first. I want to be able to create child classes of my enemy base class and override this animation sequence for each weapon. So if I want to make a shotgun variation, I can make a child class and override this with a shotgun animation. Okay? And we'll get into the actual plumbing of getting that to actually flow down into the animation blueprint in a minute. But in the meantime, so I'm trying to just create this, node, or this input, right? But in order to do that, I had to know what kind of variable an animation sequence is. And so I've been using animation sequences for, ever, all the time, but I didn't know that it's called anim sequence base, right? So I'm creating a new variable here and I'm looking for animation, and it's coming up with all this stuff that's not what I'm looking for. So in order to figure out what it was that I was looking for, I thought to myself, okay, well, I know whatever it is, it's this, right? So I looked at my animation sample here in the animation blueprint, and sure enough, it's got this variable sequence, and it's got a setting on here. So you can change this value from bind to expose as pin. And what that lets you do is it basically lets you pass a variable from your animation blueprint in. And so in order to figure out what this was, I promoted this to a variable. So that created a new variable here of type anim sequence base. And so that was the little kind of missing piece of the puzzle I needed. So I'm like, oh, okay, now I know it's called anim sequence base. So now I can go back here and I can set this to be the right kind of variable. Okay, so that is what we needed. Now I need to actually do the plumbing to push this variable into here, because right now it's just hard set. It's just set to be this clip, and that's not what I want. I want it to be revolver if this is revolver, but I want it to be something else if it's something else. And so that, before I go any further, I guess let me do a little recap about blueprints and child blueprints. So this is my base, right? But I can make variations on it by creating child classes. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll call this BP Shotgun Guard. Alright. And so now, if we go to our class defaults, see, under our default, we have all of our variables. So we could pump up his health. He's our shotgun guard, so he should have more health, right? We could give him special hit reactions, but by default, it's just going to inherit whatever his base class has. We can change his poise break time and his poise break threshold, which, did I set this up on stream? I can't remember if I did or not, but basically this is how much damage you have to do in how many seconds for him to play his heavy hit reaction, which is a full stop, full body animation. So, he's tough, so it's, you have to give him 70 damage, and we'll, give you 5 seconds to do it. I'm just making up numbers. This is the kind of stuff that, as we get further, me and Harrison can really, play with these values, to kind of test things out. This is a, let me take another small detour to explain this. So, a lot of these variables we have in here are things that we want our users, like designers, to kind of fiddle with. They're the levers of, how to balance the game. But there are some things that are not. For example, current poise damage. This is not something I want a designer to touch. And it wouldn't matter if they did touch it, because it's just a variable that caches the current damage. So, it doesn't matter what you set this to. It's gonna, the blueprint is gonna override it anyway. But it's just confusing for a designer to be like, oh, what do I want this to be? And why is it 0? So the best way to deal with this is to... how do you do that? I think you just check advanced display. And that just, what that does, all it does is when you're in your class defaults, it just pushes it down under advanced. So it'll just not show up here. Excuse me. Okay, so that was hopefully kind of informative to some of you. Alright, so now we've got our break time and our break threshold, right, and our animation additive, this is the big deal. So this is our shotgun guy, so he shouldn't be using the revolver animation, he should be using the rifle. Yeah, the rifle animation. So I just select it in the content browser, and then I can click this to set it. Alright, now let's do this. So, let me replace one of these guys, and you know what, let me bring these guys closer to the ground. There's no reason for them to be all the way up there right now. So those are enemy base, and now this guy's going to be shotgun. So when I run the game now, well, nothing changes yet, right? But let me show you why this is important. If you look in his settings, if I can find his settings, hang on. Anyway, we know that he's got a different animation clip defined here than this guy does. Okay? So now we've got an animation clip, but none of that is being used yet because our animation blueprint is simply reading this variable, which is simply set to anim revolver. If I were to clear this and set it to nothing, then they'd all just run around with their arms out. Hilarious. Oh, I love game dev sometimes. Okay, so that's fun. Okay, so that's a good way to prove that that's not hooked up. Okay. Hopefully, whoever out there this interests is following, and this all makes sense. So what I want to do next is I want to get this variable to have the content of the variable from our class. Okay, and that's not that hard to do. So what we can do here is in our event graph, so animation blueprints have an event graph. And yeah, so what it's doing, we're basically going to do the same thing that this is doing where it casts to character and then gets the character movement, right, blah, blah, blah. We can also come out here and we can cast to enemy base. What? Oh, okay. That was weird. Alright, so you see where I'm going with this? So we're going to cast it to enemy base. And if it is enemy base, what are we going to do? We're going to get, what did I call it? It's called weapon animation additive. Weapon animation additive, there it is. And then we can simply set, and here I called it weapon overlay animation. So, you know, naming these things well can go a long way, but this will work. So, okay, we got that, and now we're going to set that. And so now, when I run the game, the pistol guy should have the pistol animation, and the shotgun guy should have the shotgun animation. And yep, it's working. Cool. Hello, Nathan Andrew. Welcome to the stream. We are doing some game dev. I've just been kind of walking people through how I set up animation blueprints for different characters. We're working on this guy right now, and I'm trying to make a pistol and a shotgun version of him. And, you know, all kind of placeholder animations right now, but just kind of trying to get some groundwork in place so we can start prototyping and doing some of the fun stuff. Most of what I'm building is pretty similar to what you'll find in the Unreal third-person template, with some, you know, adjustments and additions. Alright, so next up, what we gotta start thinking about, I guess, is attaching the weapon to his hands. So let's go ahead and look at our skeletal mesh and see if we've got a good node for that. Oh yeah, and I've got these sockets, but they are way out for some reason. Quite sure why that is, but let's just see what happens if I attach a weapon to the hand. Okay, so its rotation's all off. That's weird, can I not unadd those? Add a new socket. Oh, this is his left hand. He's not left-handed. No offense to any lefties out there. Oh yeah, and we can actually preview our pistol animation here. Yeah, nice. Okay, so now we've got our socket, and we can add our pistol. There we go. Alright, so now we can kind of play with this. Kind of offset it so that this goes to the right spot. That actually looks pretty good. Obviously his pistol won't be blue. We'll make it red. Just remove all attached assets. Okay, now let's see what the shotgun looks like. So if I attach the shotgun, okay, and then switch this to his rifle aim. Alright, so here's what I'm thinking. All these weapons... Well, what would be the best way to do this? It might actually be easiest to just have a bunch of sockets in here that each weapon can just look up. It's not very elegant. The other way we could do it would be to have a variable on the weapon itself for an offset. That could be good. The best thing would be to just hand make all of our animations and have the just have the hands be posed such that an offset's not needed. That would be ideal, but we're prototyping, we want to get going quickly. And I think I'm just going to go with a bunch of sockets, why not? So I'm going to change this to pistol. Oops. Come back. There we go. Yeah, this will be the best way to do this. And then when I set up my attachment logic for their equip function in their blueprint, I'll just search for a socket with a variable name that I can fill out per blueprint instance. And if it finds it, it'll put it there. And if it doesn't find it, I can just put it at the hand bone. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then we can, if we add something and we forget to add one of these, it'll still be close to what we want. Okay, shotgun. Alrighty, and then we want to swap this up for our rifle. These weapons are probably going to actually change a little bit too. I kind of want to rework this shotgun mesh. I made this a long time ago. It deserves an update. And besides, it's not very cyberpunk. I want it to be a little more like unique and original. And right now it's just kind of like a it's a Remington 870 just with some fancy rails on it. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to do a little bit of playing around with this animation. See if I can make this work a little better. And we'll just do the same thing that we did before. I'm not gonna go too crazy with this. I just want it to look, passable while I'm prototyping. The shotgun doesn't even have a pump on it because the pump is a separate mesh for the player. So we'll have a separate one for the actual enemies. Mild one, yeah, Mild one says it's also a bit long for a VR usable shotgun. Hey man, that's just because you've got short little arms. I have no problem with it. System requirements include a minimum arm length. What just happened? Why'd that happen? I wonder if maybe pressing key removed the key? That must be what's going on. Let's see, I want to adjust his head a little bit too. Just ever so slightly. That's looking a lot better. Oh wait, it looks like his head didn't stay though. Maybe it's just not updating. There we go. Yeah, that's not too bad. Nathan Andrew, how long have you been a game developer for? Well, we've been doing this a long time. So we started probably about 10 years ago. And yeah, we're kind of still hobbyists, I guess, but you know, we're hobbyists with 10 years of experience now. So yeah, I'd say a little over 10 years. Yeah, we got started, a group of us, when we were still in high school, and we started making games, started modding Fallout 3, and then we got into Unity, and we made some Unity games, published a couple of them back in 2015 and 2016, and then sort of all kind of went our separate ways, but I kept with it. I kept up with, doing like freelance CG, and I do other kind of like game dev adjacent stuff on the side. But yeah, now me and my buddy Mild One, who's hanging out in the chat with us, we're still kind of part time in it, still sort of hobby developers, but we're kind of getting back into it. I think we've learned enough that we're getting close to maybe being able to kind of make something more serious out of it. So yeah, that's where we're at now. But yeah, so this is the goal of what we're working on now, is to update a game that we released, an early access game that we released and then had to kind of step away from back in 2016, because we had, a lot of members. We had basically a 4-man team. One guy did code, one guy did audio, Mild One did design, like gameplay design, level design, and I did all the visuals. But yeah, now we lost our main coder and our audio guy. They went off to do other things. So now me and Mild One have kind of taught ourselves how to code and animate and do a lot more stuff. So we're seeing how far we can get with the two of us. The Mild One, we've made a bad habit of trying to punch above our weight class. Yeah. We never did make a proper little indie game. We always just kind of try to make a, AAA, first-person shooter. Right, yeah, the footage playing up here is the games that we've worked on. So to kind of get an idea of what we've been kind of trying to do, that one playing right now is a prototype that is fully functional. The prototype is fully functional, and it's on itch.io as just a free prototype you can download, just mess around with. But yeah, and then our other 2 games are Root, or our other 3 games are Root, which is the same style as this, but it's a kind of Deus Ex inspired sort of stealth action game. And then Deadlock is the same genre or same universe as Root, but it's a VR action game. And that's this what I'm working on now is the update to Deadlock. And then our third game that we're working on now is called Captain McSpaceBiff, and it's a sci-fi. That's Captain McSpaceBiff playing right now. It's a sci-fi, kind of wacky, more lighthearted game. And then the other game that was playing, the more like gritty looking one, that's called Denizen, and it was a prototype that we kind of, put on pause indefinitely, but that, someday maybe we'll get back to. So we've got goldfish brains. I guess, we can't stick with one project long enough to finish it, evidently, so we're trying to rein it in and get down to unfinished business, starting with Deadlock and Captain McSpaceBiff, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got our sockets, we've got our animations, so now we just need our equipping logic. So let's go back to enemy base, and let's do this. So we'll add a variable, and we'll call this weapon socket name, and change this to a name variable. Interesting. Just gonna close that, because it's probably just weirdness. Alright, so so my socket name for my default, I'm gonna call pistol, and then same thing here. So see in the class defaults, we've got our pistol here, call that shotgun. Alright, so that's our data. So now we can start working on actually making this stuff work. So, alright, I think a good way to do this would be to have a blueprint for enemy weapons. And then the weapon base. And will be a skeletal mesh. What's nice about that is we can actually animate them, like the pump cycling and stuff like that. And I've got a whole system in Maya for doing that. Okay, now pistol. So this is going to be the default weapon base. It'll just be the pistol. Call that weapon mesh. And as long as that's all zeroed, it should line up when it's equipped. Okay, and what's cool about this kind of system is I can actually set up the firing logic in this blueprint. So the enemy, all it has to do is basically call a delegate. Yeah. In fact, I think I want to use an event dispatcher, and I'm a little rough on how these work, but let's give it a try. I need to look up how to do this actually. I've seen it done a few times, and I've messed around with a lot of systems that use them, but I haven't really built a lot by myself. I could also use interface. Basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to avoid just having a simple event. Maybe I should do it that way just to keep it simple though. Just to keep this easier to follow for you guys. Because you can do it with an event. I'll do it that way, and then maybe I'll do a little research off stream, and we can do in the next stream I'll come through and improve this. Alright, so let's have a custom event called attack. Pardon me. And for now, let's not worry about any implementation, we'll just print bang. Oh, and actually let me make this a VR print. VR print is something I rigged up. Because you can't read the print strings in the HMD. Let's have that stick around a little longer. Okay. So when they attack, it'll print the word bang. And my VR print, what it does is it basically prints it out on this screen here instead of to the HMD, which is pretty cool. If anybody wants to see that in detail, shout that out in the comments and I'll show you how it works. Alright, so we've got our weapon. It's got a basic attack, as basic as it gets. So the idea is we can have a default attack implementation here, and then when we subclass our weapon base, we can override the attack implementation to do things differently, like a shotgun shooting multiple blasts. Excuse me. A little hoarse, I'm getting over a cold, so apologies. Okay, so what we want now is an equip function. And so this could probably do this as a function. Yeah, let's do it like this. This could be interesting. Let's make this a weapon base. Enemy weapon base object reference. Okay, so we'll equip this, whatever it is. But whatever it is, it'll be either this or a child of this class. I love that about Unreal. I love that, you know, variables can be classes, and it's just, I don't know, it's cool. Alright, so what I want to do now is attach actor to component. And that will be the target. So we're gonna, actually no, wait. Getting ahead of myself. First I've got to spawn actor from class. Oh, hang on, I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, okay, this needs to be a class reference. Spawn actor from class, yep. And then this just needs something or it'll throw an error. So I'm just gonna literal or make transform. It'll just be zeros. I'm just passing zeros just to spawn this. And then what we will immediately do is attach actor to component, and this is the actor we're attaching. So the class, and I don't understand this very well myself, but I'll give you what my understanding of this real quick. So basically the class is like the abstract like idea of the thing, and then when you spawn an actor, it creates an object. And so an object has a class, but it's not the class itself, if that makes sense. So when you construct it, you now have an object, and so that's what we are going to attach. We're attaching the instance of the class. Okay, so that's the weapon itself. All right, now the parent is going to be our character mesh, and the socket is our weapon socket name. Right? So that means on the base class, it's going to be pistol, so it's going to look for a socket named pistol, and if it finds it, it will snap to target. So that should be decent. Oh yeah, and then let's, before we do that, let's save this, promote to variable, and I just want to call this current weapon. That way we just have a reference to the weapon that we're holding. Hey, what's up, Animation Lee? Welcome to the stream. What game are you making? Say I'm real. Well, I'm making a game called DEADLOCK. It's a VR game that we started many years ago that we're revisiting. This is a video. I don't know what you mean by say I'm real, this is a video. Are you asking if this is a live stream or if it's just a recorded video? It's a live stream, so what's up? Okay, never mind. Cool, well, glad to have you on board. We're working on this guy. We're giving him some animations and some basic logic. We've set up some base locomotion for him, and now I'm working on weapon attachment and equipping. And yeah, you'll see that in action in just a second. I'm almost done with this, I think. So, all right, so we've got our function, takes in a weapon class as the argument, sets it, and then attaches it to our bone here. And then let's, just for the sake of thoroughness, and add a little warning here if this doesn't succeed. Actually, let me do this. Do one better. Format text. So if we don't find it, I want to say could not find a socket named, and then a variable socket name. And that is the socket name, so there we go. Give this a dangerous orange color and make sure that sticks around for a little while. Alrighty. Cool, so we've got our function now, but it won't do anything because we're not calling it, so let's just go ahead and call it. And weapon to equip, so now we can select our weapon. Alright. And now... Okay, well let's just go ahead and say enemy weapon base, then they'll all have pistols, so... Let's give it a try. There we go. So see, even the guy that's a shotgun guard, he's holding the pistol. And don't worry about how they're all clumping up like that, we're gonna fix all that. But yeah, so the pistol guys have their pistol animation, the shotgun guy has his shotgun animation. Now we just need to make sure he has an actual shotgun. Alright, so the way we are going to do that is the same way we made the variation on, the character himself. We'll just create a child class. We call this enemy shotgun. And I'm going to change the colors on these eventually. Just using the same models for now as that the player uses. Right. Sweet, so now we have that. Now, if I come back here, you'll notice we've got two variables here, enemy shotgun and enemy weapon base. So what I can do is just promote this to a variable again. Weapon to equip. It'll default to enemy weapon base, and then on shotgun guard, I just go into his class defaults and change it to enemy shotgun. And yeah, now they should have their proper weapons. Yep, there we go. We've got our shotgun guy holding it like a shotgun, and we've got our pistol guy holding it like a pistol. And they're sharing the same base locomotion animations. They're just additively blending a different idle on top, basically. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to handle that. So there's that. Yeah, and so now if we want to make new variations of this guy that, you know, uses a different kind of weapon, all we have to do is subclass our enemy base, change out his weapon animation, the socket name, and the weapon to equip variables. Cool. Hopefully that's helpful for any other devs out there, or anyone that's just thinking about messing around with Unreal. If you've got questions, feel free to shout them out in the chat. And now I'm trying to think what is gonna be next. I'm also trying to think, so basically, are we ever gonna have enemies change weapons, right? Which is a kind of gameplay design concern. Oh, and by the way, that's yeah, okay, this could be a good little side tangent. It's important to have a game design document that kind of like is your plan, like your idea for what your game is gonna be. And we've never really had one. And that's, you know, not good for a lot of reasons. So like, for example, it's not, but there's also a reason why I kind of don't bother with them, and I'll get into that too. But so here's where I'm going with this. If these guys can switch weapons, then that really affects what I'm like that affects how we're gonna set this stuff up, right? So right now I just have this function and it just runs on begin play and it just equips his weapon. Boom, that's it. If he needs to be able to switch weapons, then we need a whole new set of logic. For example, there needs to be a way to unequip the weapon. Right now, once this thing gets equipped, it's there. There's no way to clear the value. This current weapon variable never gets cleared, right? So if he's only ever got one type of weapon, then I'm done. This is fine. This will work fine as long as that, constraint holds true. But if that doesn't hold true, if 2 weeks later Harrison comes in and says like, oh, we need to have this guy that, throws his shotgun away and, pulls out his sidearm because he's out of ammo and it's going to be awesome. It's like, well, yeah, that is going to be awesome. But now I gotta clear this variable when the shotgun drops, and I've got to call this equip weapon somewhere else, and there might be other bugs. There might be not even bugs. That's not even a bug. Like a bug implies it's like something that, something's not working that should be working. Whereas if I just design this with a set of assumptions in mind and it works, and then, we invalidate those assumptions and things don't work anymore, that's not a bug. That's just bad. Your design's just not done, right? And so now you need to redesign, you need to rethink your whole design because you're changing your assumptions. And so a game design document helps you to solidify your assumptions before you start coding. And that's important. That's really good. The problem is, how do I know what's fun until I can play it? You know, I can't. Like, so what's the point? And so this is kind of my reasoning. And this kind of goes counter to a lot of prevailing wisdom, and I'm not even going to say it's smart or good advice, because it's really not. It's not going to help you get your game done, and you know we're living proof of that, right? But I do think our games are better than they would be if we had just been like, you know, you come up with this game design document and it's all on paper, it's all in a vacuum, right? And then you put it all together, and you don't have any problems with assumptions because you've got them all dealt with, you've got it all nailed down, and so your implementation goes flawlessly. But then you play the game and it's boring and stupid, right? That, to me, is, you know, that's the worst possible outcome. I mean, the most important thing is for the game to be good. So we don't really bother with design docs. We just kind of start going and, you know, just sort of come hell or high water, you know, we just try to suffer through and, you know, make the game fun. And then if it turns out we need this thing, then I'll go back and we'll make that thing happen. It makes it hard to predict how long a game's going to take, but now I do think we're going to reach a point, and this is something I think that there's because we've been really bad. Like we've been like, no design doc, no plan, no nothing, just from idea to shipping, we don't know what's going on, you know? And that's probably not the best way to do it. So what I do think we're going to try to move to is basically like take that sort of no plan and like just kind of run with it approach during like vertical slice phase. And then when the slice is like done and we know that it's fun, then we'll be like, okay, now we're going to kind of like button it down, and now we'll make our design document, and we're going to decide like, yeah, we are going to abide in these constraints, and then we'll add the rest of the content to the game. I'm really looking forward to getting to that point, actually, because that'll be a lot of fun. But this is kind of a fun point too, because it's like everything is just sort of up in the air and loose, and it's just like, oh man, what am I doing? It's, you know, it's just chaos, but it's moving fast, and, you know, I don't know, I like it. So that may have been helpful or may not have been. I don't know. Hopefully that was a good rant, but that's kind of what I think about game design docs. So, we've been at this about an hour and 20 minutes. Any requests out there? Anything anybody would like to see? Or I might just call it here. I'm trying to think if there's anything, what the next obvious step would be. Now that we've got them being able to equip weapons, it's fairly straightforward to get them shooting. But in order to shoot, so like, okay, kind of like little chicken and egg sort of thing here. Shooting implementation is going to be simple, right? Just spawn a projectile and just launch it, but we need so much more to make them actually shoot when and where they're supposed to, right? And that's going to be AI. Man, you know, and since this is VR, I've got to like test it. I'm going to have to like put on the headset and, you know, test it in VR and see if they can find me and hit me and all that. I'm actually thinking I may just make like a dummy player that's another AI pawn that just kind of like runs around and just have them like target that for now for development. Yeah, I don't know, just a thought. Not really sure, but well, I think this is probably a good place to quit for today. I said it would be a shorter stream because I've got some stuff to do. Got some hurricane prep to get underway. But yeah, it's been fun. I appreciate all the new people hanging out. Be sure, if you haven't, be sure to follow us on, you know, we're on wherever we're at. We're on Twitch and YouTube. You know, we're also on Twitter, but the big thing is if you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join our Discord. We've also got a Steam page for Captain McSpaceBiff. Would love it if you'd put that on your Steam wish list. We're trying to build that up. But yeah, that's the main thing. Steam wish list and join our Discord. And yeah, other than that, I will not be streaming Wednesday because there will be a hurricane, and Harrison will probably not be streaming. We'll definitely not be streaming Thursday night because we're almost certainly not going to have power. So yeah, normally though, me and Harrison both stream twice a week. You can catch me Mondays and Wednesdays at 12. Again, not next Wednesday, but normally Mondays and Wednesdays. And you can catch Harrison Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 Eastern time. Hurricane time, you might say. Alright, well, it's been real, and yeah, everybody take it easy out there, and I'll see you next time.